Hello, I'm Mark from My Italian Travels, and today I'm going to show you how to do sightseeing research for your vacation to Italy. It may sound odd talking about doing research for going on a vacation, but trust me, when you're going to a place like Rome or Paris or London, there are so many incredible things to see that you could be walking past half a dozen of them and not even know it. So if you want to really have an enjoyable vacation, and if you're a real good sightseeing buff, then you really need to try and spend some time trying to figure out where everything is and what there is to see. And what I like to do is I like to use a variety of things. My two main sources for doing research is if I'm going to Italy, I'll use DK Eyewitness Travel Italy, which is a tour book, and you can read through it and find out what there is to see in each city. A lot of times there's detailed articles about some of the sites that you can see, and then that way you can write down some of the places that you like or that interest you. That way you can see where they are in the city, and you can also go online to find out more about that particular site. My other main source of research is just Google Maps, because Google Maps is a really good tool, and I'll show you how to use it right now. The first thing you want to do is go to Google Maps and get yourself a Google Maps account. You just log into Google and find their maps, and you can come over here and you can get yourself a Google Maps account. And the reason why you want to do that is that way when you log in, while you're doing your sightseeing research, you may find all the places that you want, but you don't know how to mark them on a map. Well, there's tools on the main area where you can put little balloons on all the sites that you want to see. That way you can see where everything is, at least the things that you've already decided you wanted to see. So what you do after you get your account is you just go in here, you go down, look over the menu. It's a little bit different than the older version. The older version didn't have a print button, so that made things a little bit difficult to print, because if you had a lot of things on it, you might end up with this on the screen and maybe part of this on the screen, so sometimes it was a little difficult to do things. So what I want to do, if I want to be able to save the map and save all the locations that I put on it, so I want to click on My Maps, and I want to go over here to Create, and when that opens up, it's going to give me all these tools up here that I can use. So the next thing I want to do is I want to go to Rome, so I'm just going to type in Rome, and it'll fill in the rest of it for me, and it's going to give me the Rome metropolitan area, and I'm going to click on that, and it's going to give me this map. And I don't want this little balloon on here because I already know where Rome is. I want to find the site, so I'm just going to get rid of that by clicking over here, and then I can start doing my research. Now I like to start off my research by looking through the tour guide, because a lot of times when I'm in the middle of starting to plan my vacation, I've been on the computer all day long at work, and when I get home I just don't feel like getting on the computer. So I'll get the tour book out and I'll start flipping through it to see what's where and what types of things there is available for me to see, and I'll jot down some of the names of the places that I might be interested in seeing. That way when I get into this area of Google Maps, I can type it in and look for it. But one of the other things I can do is when I do have time, I can just start to zoom in onto Rome, and as you can see, as I zoom in, you'll start to see the map will be populated with sightseeing sites automatically. This one says it's the Colosseum, this one says it's San Clemente, and there's a lot of other places around. And one of the reasons why you use Google Maps in this way is you can see what is near other sites, because you might you might be at the Colosseum and you have no idea that 3 blocks away is a really neat old church that has a church underneath it, and then also has another church underneath it. And being only 2 or 3 blocks away from the Colosseum, a lot of people don't know that it's there. It's only a 15-minute walk from the Colosseum, and it's just a really interesting thing that you can see. Google Maps isn't something I would use exclusively, even though 90% of all the sightseeing sites are on it. It would just take a lot of time to wander around the map and looking for things and seeing what is where. And there's so many things out there that might not interest you that it would just take up too much time. But what I'm going to show you about the greatness of Google Maps, and I'll just pull up one. I remember seeing the movie Roman Holiday, and in that movie they were talking about this thing called the Mouth of Truth, and maybe I want to see it. And when I start typing it, even before I get the whole word in, it gives me the Mouth of Truth. So that's nice. It shows it right away. It's going to give me a location on it. It's got a balloon on it. I might not necessarily want to keep the balloon, but for right now I'm just going to start to zoom in a little bit. And as I get in closer, I'm going to get rid of it because it's kind of in the way. And I can see right now that as I came in, it gave me 2 other sightseeing sites. Now, if I just go out one little click, they're not there. But if I didn't use Google Maps to start zooming in, I would never know that there was more sightseeing sites right there. So as I zoom out more, I find out, okay, well, here's the little insignia showing me where the Mouth of Truth is, but it's also at the front edge of this really neat church. So that's a couple other places that I could go see. So I look here, here's 2 sites, and these are also sites. So right here in just this one little area is 6 sightseeing sites that I could go to. Now, this is where the balloons come in. If you decide for sure you want to see all 4 of them, well, if you want to make sure you don't lose them, you just click on it and it puts the balloon there. You can put the name in it if you want. You don't have to. And then you can just click and get rid of it. You put another balloon right at this one. You can name it if you want to. You don't have to. And you can just do that with all of them. And then at the end of the day, when you're done searching for everything, then you can break everything up into what you want to see on specific days rather than zigzagging all through Rome looking for different places on different days. Now, when you're doing this, you don't have to fill your daily sightseeing card up so much that you're rushed and you're running all over the place looking at everything under the sun. But you also don't want to not plan at all. Like I said, you don't want to find out by talking to friends that, oh yeah, there was a really neat place 2 blocks from the Coliseum that you might have really loved to see. And so it's important to do research, and it's going to make your vacation a lot better. One of the other things that you could do on Google Maps is, let's say you're out, you're looking at these places, and you're there midday, early afternoon, and now you're thinking, well, it's time to eat. Well, if you plan it and you've looked at it already, you can and you're here. Well, I zoomed out too far, but you can see that Google already put a couple restaurants on here, and you can click on them while you are looking at the things on the computer. You could see if it's a pizzeria or if it's a fine dining restaurant, because most people don't want to do fine dining or have a big dinner or anything like that at lunchtime. So you could click on it and see what type of a restaurant it is. A lot of times, but not always, but depending on what part of the city you're on, Google doesn't automatically pull up everything. So sometimes you can go in here and click on, type in restaurants near the Mouth of Truth and go to the search box. A lot of times it'll give you more restaurants, sometimes it won't. I've been to this area and I've been on this map quite a few times, and I know these are all the restaurants that are around here, so I'm not going to go in and show you what I mean as far as it pulling up more restaurants. But that's another tool that you can use, because otherwise you could be walking around all day long and not have any idea that you're here and there's a restaurant 2 blocks away. Just like you're here, and if you didn't look at the map, sure, when you get there you would be able to see all these things, because this is only 2 or 3 blocks. So you would be able to see that this stuff is here. But if you were looking at some other site somewhere else in the city, there could be something just on the other side of this street that's really interesting. So that's the whole point of doing your research, looking in books to find out what types of things you want to see. I mean, you might not be any person that likes archaeological stuff, so you might not be interested in any of that at all. But you could be interested in museums, and you would just type in museums in Rome, and it'll show you where all the museums in Rome are. So it's a really good tool to use. I've used it for years, and it's a good thing to be able to use as a how-to for just about any kind of vacationing. Okay, I'm going to show you another example of how to do this, even though it's really simple. But before I leave this page, what I want to do is I want to mark the sites that I know I want to see. This is the Mouth of Truth, and this is the church that's at the front of the Mouth of Truth. And then while you're here, if you want, you can still just kind of move around. You can see that there's more sightseeing sites. And like I said, anytime you see something, all you have to do is click on it, and it'll give you a little page in Google, and you can click on the website for whatever it is, if it's a church or a museum or whatever. Sometimes you can tell what they are by what the little picture is inside the balloon, this little balloon rather than that balloon. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over. I'm going to go back over here, and I know that I want to see the Colosseum, so I'm just going to put a balloon on it. And I know I want to see the Roman Forum because it's right around here, so I want to put a balloon on this. And since I found this neat church that has two other churches underneath it underground, I want to see that too. So I'm going to put a balloon on it. And anytime that you're looking at the map and you decide there's something you don't want to see, all you have to do is right click your mouse, and you'll get a little box that says delete, and you can just delete it. So it's really simple. So what I want to do next is I want to see the Spanish Steps, and I want to see Trevi Fountain, but I'm not sure where they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go type in Spanish Steps, and like always it fills it in long before I type the whole thing out. So I click. I don't need this box in the way because it's kind of in the way. So I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to start to zoom in. And I want to zoom in so I can get my place. And then when I get up here, I'm going to get rid of that balloon. So I just go over here and click on it. And I can see that here's the Spanish Steps. So I want to take, and I'm going to put a balloon there because I know I want to see it. And here's a church that's at the top of the steps of the Spanish Steps. Now you can't really not see it when you're down at the bottom, but I'm going to put a balloon on it anyhow just to make sure that I know that I want to see something there. And as you look around, you can see that there's some sort of a site. Here's some sort of a site. This is some sort of a site. It could be a little museum. You move the mouse around, you grab the map. Here's a site. So that's the whole reason of putting in the major things you want to see, because then you can look around in the area and see what else there is in that area to see. Because if you're going to go from one place to another, it just makes sense to know what's on the way, because you might see, like I said, you might see something that's really neat right before you get to some place. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put in Trevi Fountain. And it pops up right away. Click on it. It's going to show me where it is. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to zoom out. And as I'm zooming out, I'm going to move the map. Zoom out some more. And I can see where Trevi Fountain is. I don't want that thing there, so I'm going to get rid of it. And you can see how close Trevi Fountain is to the Spanish Steps. This is probably maybe a quarter of a mile. So I know I want to see the Trevi Fountain, so I'm going to put a balloon on it so I don't lose it on this map. And then what I'll do is I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to see just what else is there, because I can see the Trevi Fountain is Trevi Fountain's here, Spanish Steps is up here, and here's a site. Here's a site. So here's a site. You could zigzag from here to here to here just to go up to the Spanish Steps, and you can see this isn't very far. All these things are real close. And that makes things so much easier when you're sightseeing. Because if you're going from here to here, somebody might say, well, this was a really neat church. It had some carvings by some famous person from Italy from the 1400s. And you might miss it. And you could end up walking right past it and not even know it. So that's the whole point of zooming out to see what is all over the place. And then you can zoom back out a little bit more and zoom out more, and then you can just drag the map around and look. I mean, here's the Pantheon, so you see things that when you're just searching for things, you'll find things that you want to see even without typing the name in. So while you're already here, you might as well just grab a balloon and put it on the Pantheon, and then you can get rid of that. And what you end up doing is, I'm just going to grab a bunch of balloons and just put them in places just as fillers. And then what you really end up doing is after you get all of the places that you think you want to see, even if you haven't looked them up yet, because you got plenty of time to find things, well, then you zoom out, or not zoom out, zoom out. And what ends up happening is you see where all the sites are that you want to see. And there's probably going to be more than this, depending on how many days you're going to be. But this helps you figure out what you want to group together. Because if you have a hotel here, well, then you might go see all of these in one day. And then the next day you might want to come up and see these. And then the day after that, maybe there's more stuff over here. You want to see all of those in a specific day. So then you can group everything together. You can just keep your main map, and then when you're ready to start breaking things up into specific days, then you just grab sections, and then maybe you're going to see this stuff and this stuff in one day because it's all pretty close. Maybe you're going to see this one day, so you make individual maps for everything. And what I like to do is I'll come in and let's say I'm going to group this stuff together. Well, what I do is after I print my map, I'll turn it over and put it back in the printer, and I'll type out what everything is. That way I can remember, because sometimes when you print these maps, unless you print them really big like this, you're not going to know what it is that you're looking at, because you can barely read the Trevi Fountain, and you're probably not going to want to have the map that small so you can look at the street names and everything so you know where to go. So that's just makes things a lot easier for your everyday planning to have a map. And as you keep doing your planning, because if you're going to go to Italy, you're going to start planning probably at least 6 months ahead of time. So anytime you go back and forth to your map, you can put more stuff on it. Because I've been here. This is a really neat piazza. They have art shows in here and little flea market type things. So you just go up, and every time that you on the map, if you find something you want to see, you just add it. And anytime you're on the map and you decide that you've looked this place up, it's a church, you marked it that you thought you were going to see it, now you decided you don't want to see it, well, if there was a balloon there, like I said, you just right click, it puts up the word delete, and you just click delete, and it takes it off your map. So it makes things simple. And that's why I like to plan. Whether you're going to plan to see a lot of things or just to plan a few things, it's always a good idea to know what's where, what's in the area, what else that there is to see while you're there. Because a lot of the things that you're going to go look at, you may think, for example, for myself, I thought when I went into the Colosseum, because I had seen it on television for so many years and I just couldn't wait to go see it, I thought that I would be there for at least a half a day. Well, I went into the Colosseum and I walked around. I took pictures of everything. I looked at everything. It seemed like I looked at everything twice. And then I looked at my watch, and I'd only been there for about an hour and 40 minutes. Well, I certainly wasn't going to spend another couple hours there. I'd seen it all. I've seen everything in it. Walked around, looked at it, was marveling about how they put it together. But at the end, I just, it didn't make any sense to stay there and look at it longer. So I went off to the other sites that I had already picked out, and I always put a couple extras on the map, and if I got to them, well, that was great. If I didn't, then, I had everything planned out. So it's always better to plan for more things, and you can always cut them out as you go during the day if things take longer. So hopefully, learning how to use Google Maps and learning how to figure out everything using your tour guide to put markers on everything you want to see helps you plan your day, and hopefully this made planning your vacation a lot easier. You know that you've got the map from My Italian Travels and how to use this, so anytime you need more information, you can always go back to my site. I got a lot of articles. I have more videos than just what's in this area, and have a nice trip when you get there.